Now Jim Harbaugh will come to the center of the field to meet Pete Carroll, who is not a happy camper, no question about it.
This was the aftermath of the Pac-10 game in 2009 after Stanford beat the living daylights out of USC 55-21. And what sparked this reaction from then USC head coach Pete Carroll was the fact that Harbaugh had given the green light to go for a 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter while up 48-21. Even though the attempt was unsuccessful, the act didn't sit well with the USC head coach, which triggered the uncomfortable handshake following the game. The two coaches had a very well publicized rivalry that started in their first head-to-head game in college football. In 2007, Pete Carroll's USC team was a 41-point favorite against a Stanford team led by Harbaugh. However, the Cardinals shockingly went on to win the game 24-23 in what would go down as one of the biggest college game upsets in history. Fast forward to January 11, 2010, and the Seattle Seahawks officially announced Pete Carroll as their new head coach. Then a year later, Jim Harbaugh was unveiled as the man in charge of the 49ers, and it's at this point where the two head coaches brought their rivalry from the Pac-10 to the NFC West.
Billy Martin, straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Never taking shorts because Brooklyn's the bomb.
While the 49ers and Seahawks first met in 1976, this rivalry was not official until 2002 after the NFL division realignment. Prior to that, Seattle had played in the AFC West with the likes of the Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos. However, after the realignment, the Seahawks were shifted to the NFC West. While officially the two franchises became division rivals in 2002, during this period, the rivalry wasn't anything like what we see today. Much of that was due to the little history between the two teams and the fact that the 49ers hadn't had a winning season from 2003 to 2010. Seattle also went through their own struggles towards the end of the decade, which is another reason why this rivalry took a while to get up and running. And aside from the infamous Terrell Owens touchdown celebration, not much coverage or national media attention was given to this game. And that's why when Carroll and Harbaugh took over their respective posts, the media loved the possible storylines that could come out of the NFC West. You also had two former Stanford Cardinals in Doug Baldwin and Richard Sherman who had shaky relationship with their former college coach. Anyways, the 2011 season is when things started to really intensify between the two teams in Week 16. But before that game at CenturyLink Field, the 49ers and Seahawks got a preview of one another in Week 1 at Candlestick Park. The game was close up until the fourth quarter when Ted Ginn scored 2 touchdowns off of a kick and punt return in a span of a minute. San Fran won the game 33-17 to give Harbaugh his first victory in the NFL as a head coach. Heading into this Week 16 encounter, there was a lot at stake for both teams. The 49ers needed a win to clinch a first round bye, and the Seahawks needed a win to stay alive in the playoffs. This would also mark the first time the 49ers made it to the playoffs after an 8-year absence. San Francisco came into the game with an 11-3 record and boasted the NFL's best rush defense as they had not let up a rushing touchdown all season. To top it off, this defense also went 36 straight games without allowing a 100-yard rusher, which sounds pretty insane. This was a remarkable defense with the likes of Aldon Smith, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, and Justin Smith all at the forefront. In quarterback, the team was led by former first overall pick Alex Smith, who had only thrown 4 interceptions at this point in the season. Seattle, on the other hand, were a different story. They went into Week 16 with a 7-7 record after winning 5 of their last 6 games. Quarterback Tavares Jackson was pretty shaky up until this point in the season, but did go without throwing a pick in his last 3 games leading up to the showdown with the 49ers. However, Seattle were a team that were mainly led by their defense, the Legion of Boom. This was their first season together, and it was towards the end of October in a game against the Bengals when all 4 original members started a game together. Guys, before we continue, do me a favor and turn on all notifications and hit that like button. A lot of times, you guys won't see my new uploads on your home pages. So on December 14, 2011, the Seattle Seahawks hosted the San Francisco 49ers in a must-win game to keep their playoff hopes alive. And in the pregame sideline interview with head coach Pete Carroll, he addressed Seattle's main form of attack on the 49ers defense would be through the run game. Seattle had Marshawn Lynch in their backfield, who was on a tear of late in the second half of the season. So this was always going to be a stern test, going up against the number 1 run defense in the league. And it also helped the fact that the game's best linebacker was out of the game. Patrick Willis had a hamstring injury he picked up in Week 13 against the Rams and was out of this game. From the very start, you can get the sense this was going to be a chippy affair. Both teams got into a scrum immediately after the kickoff, which we would see more of later throughout the game. The home team got off to a fantastic start after Jackson threw a 44-yard deep pass to Ricardo Lockett to bring the offense to San Fran territory. After a couple short runs from Marshawn Lynch and an 8-yard pass to Golden Tate, this set up Seattle's offense in the red zone. From there, Jackson threw a short pass to the left to Doug Baldwin, who evaded 3 tackles and found the end zone, giving Seattle a 7-0 lead. On the 49ers' first possession, Alex Smith managed to get the offense within field goal range, but a 52-yard field goal miss from David Akers would keep San Fran from getting on the scoreboard. And it wasn't until early in the second quarter when the 49ers got on the score sheet. Continuing from their drive late in the first quarter, San Fran ran the ball down Seattle's defense all the way to Seattle's 31-yard line. This set up David Akers for a 53-yard kick, and this time the kicker didn't disappoint and the 49ers were now only trailing 7-3. On Seattle's next drive, we would see Pete Carroll's game plan of running the ball come to light as Lynch began giving it to San Fran's defense. However, an offensive pass interference penalty and a sack from Navarro Bowman brought the Seahawks offense out of field goal range. Seattle ended up having to punt the ball as they wasted an opportunity to further their lead. On the 49ers' next possession, Smith continued to struggle to move the ball downfield and went 3 and out after a nice pass breakup from Hawthorne as he was all over Vernon Davis. And on the ensuing punt, things didn't get any better for the visiting team as what looked to be a turnover for Seattle ended up as a 15-yard penalty on CJ Spillman for early contact on Leon Washington. This gave Seattle the ball at San Fran's 43-yard line and in prime position to extend their lead. From there, the Seahawks continued to run the ball with Lynch gaining a lot of yards. The offense then got a huge first down on a 7-yard pass to Deon Butler, and on 1st and goal, everyone in the stadium knew the ball was going to Lynch, and after his first attempt gained 4 yards, the next one just fell inches short. However, Pete challenged the call as he felt Marshawn had made a last-ditch effort to break the play. Unfortunately, the call was upheld, and this was a huge blow for the offense. And it probably had some effect on the next play, as upon the ball being snapped, not everyone was on the snap count, which forced Jackson to make a run towards the end zone, only to be stopped by Carlos Rogers. Seattle ended up having to kick for 3 points, and the 49ers' record of not allowing a rushing touchdown continued. And as both teams headed to the tunnel, this had all the signs of a real defensive battle in the second half from both sides. The start of the second half saw the 49ers level the game as Smith drove the ball down to Seahawks territory as he converted a crucial 4th down, and on 1st and goal, handed the ball to Frank Gore, who ran it in for a score, leveling the game at 10 apiece. After the Seahawks went 3 and out, San Francisco then took the lead with a 29-yard field goal from David Akers. Tavares Jackson continued to struggle in the second half to find an answer for this 49ers defense, and the offense ended up having to punt the ball again deep from their territory. San Francisco continued running the ball with Hunter and Gore, which set up another field goal for Akers, who converted for his 3rd of the game early in the 4th quarter. Jackson took a huge sack from Aldon Smith for a loss of 8, and while they were only down by 6, it seemed like the game was getting away from Seattle. The away team's defense began piling on a lot of pressure, thwarting Seattle's offense. In these nip-and-tuck games, sometimes a team just needs a little lucky bounce to go their way. And a few minutes later, after San Fran was about to punt the ball back, the Seahawks saw their fortunes change, and it would come in the form of special teams as they blocked Andy Lee's punt and got the ball back at the 49ers' 4-yard line. From 1st and goal, Marshawn Lynch ran the ball, and the extra point gave Seattle the lead again with just under 7 minutes left in the game. After the kickoff, San Francisco was positioned well after Seattle got an unnecessary roughness call and started from their own 39. From there, Smith threw a deep pass to the left for Michael Crabtree, who came down with the ball over Brandon Browner. The 49ers were now in field goal range, and after a few short gains, ended up settling for 3 to take the lead. So now, Seattle had at least one more opportunity to score with less than 3 minutes left in the game. Jackson got the offense going with a short pass to Lynch, who ran it for 20 yards. However, on 3rd and 3rd, the quarterback, while trying to evade a sack, rushed to his right only for the ball to be stripped from behind, with San Francisco recovering the ball. This was a costly error from Jackson, as Seattle had to waste all 3 timeouts on the 49ers drive and got the ball back with only 41 seconds left in the game. and after a couple incompletions, Seattle's playoff hopes were dashed. Marshawn ended up topping 100 yards on the last drive and virtually ended the 49ers defense 2 ongoing streaks. Anyways, this loss to their division rival was the first game that really had a lot in stake for both teams. So it's understandable how this Week 16 matchup sparked the rivalry further down the road as the two teams began playing in some heated contests over the next few seasons. Anyways guys, I'll be doing more videos on those games, so be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out.